after I went carnivore, all that went away. It all went away.
David, how did you find carnivore?
Well, I actually had never heard of carnivore before, and I went looking for different diets because I had been recently on a vegan diet for 7 years and developed some pretty serious health problems. So I was scrolling through Amazon and came across a book called The Carnivore Diet. And I'd never heard of it before. So I started looking into it, and it's like, okay, I'm going to order that. I did. It arrived in a couple days, and I kid you not, I read it from cover to cover in 2 days.
What was the what was the impetus for looking for some kind of diet solution?
Well, I had recently been diagnosed with GERD, the gastroesophageal reflux disease. I was having heart issues where I was on two different blood pressure medications I had never been on before in my life. I had severe arthritis in my hands, my legs, because I drive up to 11 hours as an over-the-road truck driver. So I do this over the road. And I would actually have times when my hand would cramp up so bad that it would lock onto the steering wheel. That's not a safe thing. So, those were some issues. I was having some IBS issues, joint pain. I've got a knot right below my knee that would hurt because I drive up to 11 hours a day. And after I went carnivore, all that went away. It all went away.
You tried vegan for 7 years, and obviously you didn't have all the success you wanted with that. Um, would that be fair to say?
That would be exactly fair to say. At first, just like with any diet, when you switch the way you're eating, when you stop eating the processed foods, when you try to cut down on the sugars, you're going to have health improvements no matter what diet you're switching to. So initially, it was great. I felt great. I say I was duped into going vegan by watching a documentary called Forks Over Knives. And then after that, What the Health? But there's a lot of things they don't tell you when you go vegan, things that happen to your body. And the vegan doctors they just glance over it, or they bury their head in the sand because it goes against their narrative. If I would have known about these things before I went vegan, and I went vegan for health reasons, I was not one of those for the animals reason as to why I went vegan. I learned about the ethics later on. And so I was doing it 100% for my health. But if I would have known then about oxalates and defensive chemicals in plants and what they do to the human body and the nutrients that you're not getting because of the anti-nutrients in the defensive chemicals, I never would have gone vegan. I never would have gone plant-based.
Mm. So you had that initial kind of I feel better feeling, like anyone would, as you say, if you're cutting out junk food and alcohol and things like that. Um, but long term, things like oxalates caused you more problems.
Yes. And each person's body is different. And depending on how you were raised being with your food, the way you ate, it also depended on what your parents ate and what their parents ate. Because these things are passed on through birth when you're born. There are certain genetic similarities when it comes to what you can eat and what you can't eat. You've got people that are allergic to this, but they're not allergic to that. And that varies based on the individual. And there is no one size fits all when it comes to diet. There never has been, regardless of what either side says. It's based on the individual themselves. And some people can tolerate it for a long time before they start having the problems. I've talked to vegans that have been vegan for 22 years and finally had to switch to eating meat because they were afraid of dying. And they reversed their conditions as well. I'm no longer on blood pressure medicine whatsoever. I'm not on any medications whatsoever. And I was getting close to borderline getting pre-diabetic and then going type 2 diabetic if I would have kept on the path I was headed on.
So could you give us an idea of the timeline from like when you started carnivore till when you started noticing things improving?
Absolutely. August 1st of 2022 is when I went carnivore. So I've been carnivore now for, about a year and a half ish. I started noticing differences probably about 3 weeks after I started carnivore. I was also sleep apnea was something else I had a problem with, and that went away as well. I was sleeping better. I was sleeping through the night. This was a new feeling for me, and an incredible one at that.
3 weeks in, you started feeling better.
Mhm.
Um, were you kind of conscious of things improving the whole way along, or is it just you kind of looked back and went, oh, that pain's not there anymore. I'm not clutching the steering wheel like that anymore, or anything like that?
Absolutely. It came as a shock to me with some of the symptoms, not symptoms, but medical issues were going away. It's like, wait a minute. I drive up to 11 hours a day. My leg is usually killing me at the end of the day. And all of a sudden, there's no pain. And my hand hasn't been locking up on the steering wheel. I don't have joint pain. I don't have GERD anymore. I don't have these problems. And it's like one by one, they kept knocking themselves out. Now, I did develop diverticulitis, but not because of going carnivore. This is something I had been damaging my colon for um, years and years. Because as you know, I don't know if you know much about diverticulitis or not, but think of it like a balloon. When you blow it up too much and you get those micro tears in it, you can see them. That's what's happening to your colon. And so when you're pushing out all the time, and people say, oh, you have to be regular. You need to go several times a day. And with a lot of those plant-based products and the grains, sometimes it packs up too much. And when you're pushing through, it's doing damage. And over years of doing that, it will eventually reach a point where you have to deal with it medically. So I did end up in the ER. I was in the hospital for 2 days on a very strict and, let's just say, intense antibiotic treatment with IVs. 2 days of IVs. And it probably took me about a month to recover after that. Because if you take a lot of antibiotics, your body is going to react. And mine did. But thankfully, it went from diverticulitis, a huge flare up, and it was infected. So the antibiotics took care of that. And then it went down to regular diverticulosis, which means I can develop diverticulitis if I don't manage it properly. And I've been managing it quite well on carnivore.
No matter how many people I speak to, it always still astounds me how much can be repaired so quickly just by changing the way you eat.
Absolutely.
Mm. Um,
Absolutely. And I was one of the people that ate those fake meat products like Beyond Burgers, Impossible Burgers, Gardein products. I liked the fish the best, the Gardein fishless fish. That was one of my favorites. But you start looking at the ingredients in these things, And it's like, oh my God, I cannot believe I was eating that stuff. But it's part of I call it brainwashing in the vegan cult, as I call it. And I say that because I escaped it after 7 years, but I was totally embroiled in it at the time. And, you just, as a vegan, you are taught that anyone who leaves veganism, they just weren't doing it right. You were never vegan. These are all statements that you throw out to the people who left veganism, and they try and insult you. I just laugh at it now, but it's like, I used to use those same comments against people that left the vegan community. I used them myself because I was brainwashed at the time. And it just astounds me how, I'm sorry to say, but how stupid I was at the time. I was just ignorant. And I'm glad I'm out of that. I really am.
When you frame it like that, it really does seem like a cult.
It
Because, like,
is.
when someone leaves the cult, everyone has to destroy them, right?
And they say, well,
It's
no, it can't be a cult because there's no organized leader of the cult. And I laugh at them sometimes and say, Ryan from Happy Healthy Vegan, that's another YouTube channel, he actually purported to be the vegan cult leader at one time as a joke. And I took it as that. It was in comedy, it was in humor. He even had a t-shirt design saying he was the vegan cult leader. It's like, okay, there he is. That's the cult leader right there. Everyone, look at Ryan. And I couldn't keep a straight face when I was telling people about it. I could not keep a straight face.
prior to finding carnivore, vegan times or not,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to imagine you spending 11 hours driving,
Yep.
and I'm just putting myself into the same position. And like prior to carnivore, my kind of driving would have been constantly stopping whenever I saw a convenience store or a service station, buying snacks, and just the boredom of sitting there for that amount of time. I would just be like having to eat all the time.
I
Was
used
it
to
the
be that
same
way.
kind of thing?
I
Yeah.
used to absolutely be that way.
Hmm.
And the worst I was when I was vegan. I had to constantly be eating, constantly, because the amount of protein your body needs, you have to constantly eat as a vegan. That's why you'll see them eating 5, 6, 7 times a day. It's like you eat your 3 meals a day, plus you have snack here, snack here, snack here, post workout snack here, pre workout snack here. And it's endless, absolutely endless as to how much you eat.
So, and you know, did you have to prepare all that? Is it easy enough to stop and find vegan snacks?
Oh, yeah, they're sold in just about every store and truck stop across the nation.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Wow. So, but I guess things are not like that now because you have that kind of consistently stable blood pressure,
Mhm.
sorry, blood sugar, and you're satiated, right?
Absolutely. My average is eating twice a day. Sometimes three, it just depends, but 99% of the time, I eat twice a day. And I'm full. I don't snack.
Wow, nice. And so how are those meals made up?
Uh, now, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. I cook on the truck as much as possible. I do have a refrigerator and electric skillet, microwave, all that, instant pot. So I have various methods to cook. I even have one of those little dash waffle makers for making chaffles. Um, but food wise, I try to cook on the truck as much as possible. I do a lot of ground beef, do a lot of eggs, burgers, hot dogs, shrimp, seafood. Um, But I also, if I'm in a pinch, especially time wise, if I don't really have the time to cook, I'll get burger patties at a fast food restaurant in a truck stop, like McDonald's, Wendy's. Wendy's is my favorite as far as burgers go.
And it's easy enough to just get the burgers,
Hmm.
the patties.
The
You don't have
patties.
to, yeah,
Hmm. Yep.
yeah.
And if I'm in a hurry, or if I get there and they're like packed, a lot of people, I'll just order the burger as it is and I'll throw the bun away. I mean, just quick, get me my burger. I'm out the door. I got to go. You guys are busy. I don't got 20 minutes to wait. Throw the bun away. Not a big deal.
Nice. So how have family and friends reacted to the way you're eating now?
Um, Kind of 50-50. I get some support from some family members and others are coming around. But at first it was just kind of I can't believe you're doing that kind of thing. You're going to harm your health and, the usual. But now I've lost a lot of weight. I've reversed my medical issues. I'm no longer on blood pressure medicine at all. And I've got more energy than I've ever had. I feel like a 20-year-old and I'm 54 years old.
It's a great feeling, right?
It is. It really,
Yeah.
truly is.
Yeah. Um, and so I guess people are seeing the results, right? So
Mhm.
even if they were skeptical at first, they're like, okay, well, there's something to this.
Absolutely. And then I
Mm.
get asked questions all the time, which I'm more than happy to answer for people.
How do you handle pushback when people are like, oh, you're gonna kill yourself, you're gonna have a heart attack, you're gonna get cancer, blah 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 blah.
I just simply tell them that we've been going off falsified and outdated data. I tell them about the sugar industry paying off researchers, and they don't believe me at first until they look it up themselves and go, oh, I never knew that. So I tell them quite simply, you've got to go by the facts. If the data was falsified, the information is not true. And I'm watching people heal themselves on carnivore. I'm seeing people get their lives back. And I'm doing it myself as an example to people. Okay, how is this harmful? Tell me. Because those facts, as they used to call them, the nutrition facts, they were wrong. And so the doctors over the years and the dietitians were taught wrong. They were given wrong information to base health decisions on. But now we're moving forward past that. Thank God.
Where are you living in the States?
My family lives in Oregon. I
Uh-huh.
travel all 48 continuous states down here. Um, Come home about once every 2 months, stay home for a
Oh,
week, and then go out and do it all over again.
okay.
So, in a
Wow.
way, the truck is my home. I come and
Oh,
visit family, but as far as my home goes, it's the truck.
right. And so, well, when you're traveling around, do you notice like when you have to stop and buy like beef or something like that, do you notice any differences between states or between cities,
Not really.
price
Yeah.
wise or anything? No?
No, I'm able to mostly shop at Walmart because you got
Oh,
to have some place you can get a semi into with the trailer.
mm.
So there are certain Walmarts across the nation that have that room, and they're more than happy to let you come in and shop. They just don't want you to stay overnight. Usually, there are a few that have dedicated truck parking, but the majority of them you can't stay overnight, but you can shop there all you want.
Oh, nice. Um, so for someone that's on the fence, they're kind of thinking, oh, yeah, well, this sounds great, but it seems so hard to believe that just changing your diet can get rid of pain, cramps, reduce your blood pressure. Blah, 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 blah. My doctor's been talking about changing my diet for years, and I've done what he said, and nothing's worked. So, what would you say to the skeptic who is willing to be convinced, but they're skeptical?
I quite simply tell people that the responsibility for your health and the way you feel is not the responsibility of your doctor. It's not the responsibility of social media. And it's not the responsibility of the government. It is your responsibility. No one else's. Only you know what works for your body.
Very good advice. And so, and as a second part to that, how would you recommend they get started? What steps would you take if you were starting again?
If I was starting again, because I kind of jumped right into it with both feet, there was no transitional period, which I would probably recommend to people. Just start eating more meat, reduce your vegetables and fruit, and eliminate sugar. The first thing I tell people is eliminate sugar. That is the number one thing you want to cut down on. And then when it comes to carbs, what do we know? We know that all carbs are converted to sugar. Eat more meat. Understand you're going to have a few adjustment issues with your digestion because you are switching to a different style of eating, way of eating. And just understand that it's going to take a little time. For me, like I said, I jumped right in and I had digestive issues for about 3 weeks. And then they tapered down. So my body was getting fat adapted and going away from the carbs. Well, I wasn't giving it any carbs, so it didn't have much of a choice.
One question I forgot to ask you before, what kind of weight loss have you experienced?
Well, here's the interesting part of that, because I have to go total honest mode. When I started back in 2015, when I went vegan, I was 305 pounds. I dropped down to 205 pounds. And then I got this bright idea in my head that because I wanted to help my fellow brother and sister truckers out here get healthy, I was going to show them how easy it was to do a plant-based diet while driving a truck across the country. So, dumb me decided to gain 65 pounds on purpose and then show people how to lose it. That catalyst sent me over the edge with my body. And that's when I started noticing the health issues creeping up. And then that's when I started looking into carnivore or for other diets and found carnivore, Dr. Sean Baker's book. And so that was that, right? Then I went carnivore. And I have gone from 200 and almost 70 pounds down to what I am now, which is the lowest I've ever been in my entire life as an adult. I'm down to 182 pounds right now. And I went from a size 44-inch waist. Now I'm down to a 36-inch waist.
Wow. I mean, if that's not a selling point for people, I don't know what is, right?
Right? Feel better.
Especially when you're sitting behind a steering wheel all day, like that must feel so much better now.
It does. It truly does. I used to be out of breath walking around, and now I love to walk.
David, how can people get in touch with you if they want to reach out? Do you have a YouTube?
I do have a YouTube. It's at Carnivore Werewolf. I also have a website that goes to all my links. It's simply carnivorewerewolf.com, including the link to my t-shirts. I design carnivore t-shirts.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Well, I'll link to all those below. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. What does that say? Meat fuels.
Meat fuels your beast.
Ah, nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I'll link to all those below. And David, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. Thank you
Oh,
so
my
much.
pleasure, Dave. My pleasure.